Hello everybody, welcome back. Unfortunately, I screwed up my tournament. I didn't win the Sunway sitges. So I just want to show you the game because people complain that I never show the moves, so I'm going to try and show the moves. So what happened, I'll just take you through the game. Apparently I was losing at one point, but I think I was also winning. So it's a very crazy position. So yeah, I think actually in this position, I think bishop e3 is quite a good move here because if you go ED, CD, B5 is a line, they go E5. I've had that against Serrana and also in tournament in Ghent. So that's one possible variation. I think maybe bishop e3 is the critical variation, but he castled. He said he'd analysed this before, so I vaguely remember that bishop f5 was the top engine move. Actually, I'll flip the board so I'll show you from my perspective. So he went, so I was playing this guy as an IM. So again, you see the rating, like you have to be 2400 to get to IM. And he's down at 23, 24. So it's very hard to gain points now because so many people are losing points. He's not that old, this guy, it's like early 50s. I felt like he was quite a strong player. So I could go bishop. To be honest, like I kind of opted a repetition here because he could just go knight f3, but he showed some balls. He went h3 because I can't take on d5 because if knight takes d5, queen h4, knight c7 is not good for black. I don't think. So I went, I'm not sure what my moves here are, what I should play. Knight bd7 looks a bit weird because I weaken d6. So I went knight a6. To be honest, this whole variation is a bit dubious. Okay, now he went g4, very critical move. Came back. Bishop f4. So clearly he's got ideas of going knight b5. Now, if I go h5, I thought he would just go g5 and then, you know, I can't really go back to d7 because I dropped d6. Maybe I can sack a pawn, but knight e8, it just felt a little bit weird. I thought he could just go king g2. If queen d7, then rook h1, if nothing else. So I went knight c7. And he played, yeah, I thought there were maybe, I'm okay, he went queen d2, which is an interesting move. Maybe not the best, but actually he kind of overlooked my counterplay. And when we were analysing it later, I think he was very kind of impressed, or he seemed very impressed with black's position. So I went b5, maybe he can play b3, I don't know, and just allow it. But then I can go b4 and knight e4 and win the exchange. So it doesn't look right. So he took. No, so I went rook e8, sorry. And now I went b5. And I was feeling quite happy. There was another move was knight e4 was interesting. Again, very crazy position. I went b5, he took. And now I went h5. So my idea is g5, knight e4, and I think that's quite good for black. Knight takes, rook takes. If bishop f1, then probably rook b4 is good. Still very messy. I mean, he could play b3 here, even maybe the idea of bishop a1, rook a1, give out the exchange. So maybe b3 is good for white. But I wasn't totally sure. You know, d5 is weak, knight takes b5 is a move. There's also knight takes d5, queen d5, rook f4, but then that drops a8, so it's not very good. Okay, so interesting variations possible. So he took, which also interesting. But now h3 is hanging. And I was hoping for like bishop f1, and then I was intending queen f6. Because then he's got a problem down the f file with a bishop on f4 and a knight on f3 is loose. So he could play in this position. Not sure what he should play here. I thought his position very unclear, but he went knight g5, which is a dangerous looking move. Very interesting move, knight g5. So he's a pawn up here, but I'm going to win the bishop pair. So I took on f4, he took back. And then I thought about bishop f5 actually. But again, it gets very unclear. He can go bishop g4, for example. Another move maybe is h4 is possible. So I'm not sure that's better for black anyway. So I went queen f6, offering a queen trade. I thought if he trades, I'm quite comfortable in the endgame. But again, that might have been a misjudgment. Maybe I'm not doing that well, actually. He could take and go h4, for example. It's one possible variation. Then bishop f5. Also, I could take on c3 and take on b5. So he played an interesting move, queen h4. What move number is it? Lost track of what move number it is. Where's my score sheet? Maybe I can get my score sheet out and then I could look at the moves. But okay, I don't want to give away the computer valuation. So I was a little bit surprised by queen h4, I'll be honest. I thought it wasn't a very good option for white. So I could go bishop f5 here, but I went rook e5, which is obviously threatening. You want to threaten something, right? You know, it's a percentage call. He might forget the knights on pres. You never know. He's probably not going to. So if he goes queen h7 and h4, I thought he's out of position. I could even consider sacking the exchange. Sorry, I was expecting... Sorry, I dropped the tablet there. I was expecting f4. Then I got moves like rook f5. It's very murky. I was looking at variations like rook e3, bishop f3, queen d4, king g2, bishop f5, rook e3, queen e3, rook e1. And if queen d2, rook e2. And then if I go queen d4 at the end, he has rook e7 with the threat of queen h7 and rook f7 with a mating attack. So stuff like that is possible. It's very, very murky. But I think after h4, there's also, after f4, sorry, there's also rook f5. So I think in this position, okay, so he fought for quite some time. So he seemed to have lost focus now. Oh, here we go, that's better. So I went rook e5, right? So his next move surprised me. Originally, I thought, I had seen the idea, but I didn't think it was very good. So obviously he doesn't want to go knight f3 because I can take on h4 and take on h3 with my pawn back, if nothing else. So he goes here. So this is where I thought maybe I should just trade and allow this check. And then he takes. And now I go queen f4. I think this is good for black, but it's very murky. So I was looking at moves. So obviously his queen is now out of the game. He can't move the queen on h7. I'm attacking the knight. I'm exchanged down. So I haven't even got a pawn for the exchange at the moment, I don't think. How many pawns is he's even got an extra pawn, right? So I'm exchanging a pawn down. However, I've got serious threats. So I was one variation I wasn't sure about though was bishop g4. So I saw like alpha zero stuff like bishop g4, h g4, queen g4, and knight g3, and then his queen is going to. Oh yeah, no, I was sorry. Actually, I saw this variation. It's quite amusing, which was rook e8. And okay, he's got other moves here like knight g3, but he can go queen h1 like alpha zero style. So that was quite amusing. So the critical move probably is f5. But after f5, he can go queen takes g6, for example. Is one possible variation. Yeah, it's kind of looking a bit unpleasant for me actually, because if I take here, he can take with a rook. Somehow this feels a bit ropey for black, right? Maybe queen f6 is still okay, but okay, maybe not this. Maybe not f5, but I think if I don't get f5, I'm not better. So objectively speaking, this was maybe bishop b7 here is a move. But then he can start bringing the queen back into the game. You know, f5 is possible, but then again, you know, it's lots of moves here, like knight c5 might be possible. It's very hard to analyze all this. With the idea of queen e7 check. Like takes, queen e7 check. Maybe d6 or something. Maybe this is no good, right? Got bishop d4. Yeah, bishop d4 is probably good, right? Because if rook e2, then there is queen g3 check, for example. Okay, but it's, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to take on c5. It's also possible to just simply go knight c3, actually. It's one other option. Or knight g5 also possible, but then I can take on g4, right? So in this position, I fought for quite some time, and then I played queen e7, and he played a good move, which annoyed me, because I was hoping for like bishop f3, but then he's not got a threat. He went bishop d3, which I think he has to play. I'm not sure, but I think that maybe there's other moves, but I didn't see anything else. So he went there, which is kind of annoying move. So what I missed, so what I originally intended here was to take on d5. And after f4, I take on f4. Queen f4 and go d5. And I thought, oh, this is good for black. But the problem is he goes knight f3. It's what I missed originally, that you can simply go knight f3. I think that's pretty much the only good move. Because otherwise I'm going to take on e4 and I'm probably doing well, right? Queen f7 was possible, but say, for example, queen f7, knight f7, king f7, knight d6. I mean, he's worse in the endgame because I've got like huge pawns on the queen side. And queen f7, knight f7, king f7, knight c5. I go rook e1, bishop d4 check and take on c5. And I win a piece. So, but the problem was knight f3. This is what I missed. And I didn't see anything good here for black. Because if I take here, he just takes on e5. Now, maybe I could have gone for this. There's bishop e5, he either has queen e4. Well, queen e4, I can go queen g3. King h1, rook b8, with the idea queen takes e5, bishop b7 check. Interference move. But I think he's got rook e4. This is a problem, like rook takes e4. And that's a good move. Like rook takes e4 is a good move, right? So I saw this and I was like, oh, that's kind of annoying, right? Actually, after rook e4, actually in that line, maybe I could go bishop d4 check, but it feels a bit obscure. Yeah, I mean, even king h2, I don't think he's in trouble here anyway. Maybe he's better, right? But yeah, there's also queen e4 was also possible. Queen e4, queen g5, queen g2 was another line. So there's so many variations you have to calculate. So in this position, he played... so I didn't go knight takes because of this variation. So I suddenly realised, actually, this is not so easy. Because if bishop f5, he goes f4. And I assumed there'd be good moves here for black, but I couldn't see anything. f5 also didn't work. I think f5, he goes f4. And this was a problem. Like, if I take, he takes. I didn't like this. I thought his rook is getting active. Okay, maybe I can just take here. Maybe the engine would just say this is good for black, right? But no, he's got queen h7 and rook f1 ideas. So, yeah, he's always got this attack, this annoying attack. So he goes in this position. He played... sorry, I played in this position. Out pure desperation went c4, which must be a mistake. It's a horrible move. I don't even know why I did it. I had an idea that if he goes bishop c2, I could go for the same knight d5 idea, and then it's like a slightly improved version. It was my reasoning. But somehow it's probably not very good. So after c4... yeah, he went f4, which is a critical move. I think that's good. And obviously I was very worried now, and I thought, well, I'm probably going to lose the game, right? So I thought, if I go rook d5, he's got bishop c4, this is no good. Rook f5 doesn't seem to be very good either. Rook f5 I didn't like, for moves like knight g3 are a problem. So I took on d3, he took back. And again, bishop e5 looked a bit slow. It allows queen h7, rook f1. Ideas, yeah, I mean, I think if I take here, he can go... there was something like... oh, he said queen check and queen h6 was good. I'm sure he's right. Yeah, because there's still this kind of like idea of going knight h7 check. It's a big problem. So in this position, I took with a queen. And then he played after queen takes. Yeah, I was very worried. This is where he started to blunder. I think he kind of blundered around about here. So the move I was afraid of in the game, I don't know if this is winning for white, was knight f3. And that worried me a great deal. Maybe there's other moves. I don't know. Knight f7 was also interesting, but knight f7 is queen d4 check, right? So there's also moves like rook f1 here. Maybe just simply rook f1 was good. Was rook f1 possible? Maybe here he's missing like wins. But then bishop f5, I thought. I'm somehow surviving. I don't see a forced win. So knight f3 worried me a great deal, actually, because the idea is to go queen d8 check. And I don't know if this is the best move, but I showed him this afterwards. I think he agreed that this is quite dangerous, because queen f5, if I go queen d5, I think you can just go queen d8 and take the piece. Queen b2, again, queen d8 is a problem. So I have to go here to hit the knight, but then I just simply thought rook f1, and I didn't see a good move. I mean, maybe also queen d8 is also possible, but then bishop f8, I thought I'm just about hanging on. Looked very, very suspicious. For a number of reasons. Knight f6, I go king g7. Maybe that defends. I don't know. It looks super scary, but I didn't quite see a win. But I didn't quite see a good move for black after the simple move rook f1. Because now he's threatening queen d8 anyway. And I thought I'm in a little bit of trouble. But maybe knight e8 is a move. But then he goes back to g5. This is the problem, yeah? So if I do something like this, he's going to go back to g5. And he's threatening. So I thought I'm in trouble here. I probably have to somehow give up a rook and hope. Like queen d5, queen check. But queen check is a problem because I can't go bishop. So yeah, I thought this is winning. Okay, he didn't find knight. Now he blundered, I think. He went knight h7. And this is where I missed a win. I think. Or we think. So I go check. And quite very quickly, almost immediately, again, emotions playing a role. So he could just go king h1, but then that allows queen d5. So it's quite tricky, this line, because if I go here, he just goes here. And I'm busted. Sorry, maybe it was the other knight. Actually. Yeah, it goes here. Yeah, because if I take, I lose the queen. And if I play a move like queen... Yeah, basically knight f6 is a huge threat anyway. There's always ideas of like... Okay, so queen here, king here. Yeah, if I go bishop f5 here, he goes knight f6. Wins. And if I go bishop f5 here, he goes knight f6 and that wins. So I went check and I was expecting king h1, but he went king f1. This is where I missed a win, which he showed me in the post-mortem. Bishop takes h3. Again, stupid because I had loads of time here. So at this point, I had 16 minutes, right? Emotions, this is what I keep saying about emotions take over at some point during the game for me. Because at this point, my head was scrambled. And I was, oh yeah, I was sort of panicking because I missed this knight h7 move. And I stopped calculating. You know, like, so I've got 16 minutes left. This is the danger zone for me. But I could just take here and go d2. So how good is this? Actually, it's not that clear. It's only saying... Right. So I didn't actually miss a win. So that kind of makes me feel slightly better. But I think practically probably winning. So I went g5. How good is g5? That's not actually much worse. So, yeah, I didn't think this was that great for me. And I thought, for example, you could go knight f3. And then knight d2 was one idea, just a blockade. I mean, what he did seem reasonable as well. Queen f2. Very interesting game, actually. Queen d5. In this position, yeah, I started missing a lot of his moves. So he played a good move. I thought knight g3, he should keep his knights around his king. And then he brought the knight back to e4 as clever play, you know, bring the knight back in the game. And on g5 is, yeah, I was expecting me like rook e7, but I think that's probably not great. I mean, it's perfectly possible to go rook e7. He went back to e4. I was wondering about f5 here. f5, I saw a line like f5, knight c3, takes, f4. It's good for black. But the problem is he goes here. And if I go f4, he can go knight e4. And, yeah, it's still messy. I mean, I can play him with like rook e8, but then I thought he could go knight c3, for example. I got check. Oh, right. Yeah, maybe I should have tried this. But he can also go queen f3. I couldn't bust that move. Oh, queen f3, bishop h5. So could I have tried this then? Maybe f5 was good. Yeah, f5 was strong. Queen b5 was a blunder. And then I went queen b2. Yeah, that kind of cocked up the win. So actually, I did everything correctly. But then I went like, yeah, f5 was strong. Knight d2, f4. Breaking his blockade like here. And I think I'm doing well. So basically after that, we just got some endgame. So I thought I was starting to get short time myself. So I thought I'd bail out and just try and make a draw. Because I didn't really, I thought I might lose if he keeps queens on. I was getting short of time. So it's slightly deceptive because it looks like he's got like really time issues. But I was starting to get short of time myself now. So I just took off and it was kind of like a bailout move. And then this is basically just a draw. I just anchored the bishop. Okay, so was I right that knight 7 was a blunder? Yeah. So when he went f4, he was doing actually. I should here queen e7 is a no. Okay, knight d5, f4, knight f4. What's the engine saying? Queen takes, d5, knight f3. Yeah, it's slightly bad for white, but like a mess. But c4 was like a shocker, like a terror. I kind of felt it was wrong. And yeah, so knight f3 was the killer. Maybe there's other moves, but yeah, knight f3 was the best. So he did miss a win, yeah. I didn't actually miss a forced win, but I was better later on. Anyway, that was the game. It's interesting, the variations. I thought I'd show the variations on the video camera. So, unfortunately, I mean, that meant I finished the tournament with 6.5. I think it wasn't even top Brit. I think Keith Arkle drew with Ivan Chut and won his last round. So, unfortunately, that meant I wasn't even top Brit. So, well done to Keith Arkle. Or Arkle, as other people call him. But yeah, I'm very disappointed because I've spent like 1,200 quid on this trip. Just this part of the trip, I'll probably spent 1,200 quid. I've spent like overall on these two tournaments, I've spent like £2,000 and I've lost grand total about 1 or 2 rating points over the two tournaments. Very disappointing. So I'm kind of letting myself down with this, yeah. You know, it's like slightly panicky calculation at moments. You know, slightly. You saw in that game like going c4. You know, it's not consistent. And then later on, I'm missing moves like bishop h3 and d2. I'm missing f5, which I saw actually. Saw f5. So you know, okay, he did have a forced win, but there's 2 games really I should have won towards the end of the tournament. You know, I scored like 50%. I was on great scores. I'm 4 out of 5, and I scored 50% last 5 games. It's not good enough. So it's very disappointing. I don't feel like I'm making any progress in chess. But overall, I enjoyed the experience. You know, but I can't afford to keep doing stuff like this. It's too expensive, and you know, it's nice to play here, but I'm kind of glad to be going home tomorrow, going back to England. So the plan is potentially maybe to play Hastings if I can book the hotel. They might be giving me conditions. So I could play Hastings, but again, not really excited about it. I feel like there's other things in life that excite me a bit more than playing chess, to be honest. But that was an interesting game. Yeah, it was quite a fun game to play, actually. Enjoyed that game. And to be honest with you, you know, there's worse professions. For example, I went to a cafe before the game and I got like a little bit of food and a coffee. And the girl serving me, when I came back to the hotel, so it's 5.5 hours after I got the food, 3 p.m. She was still there serving. I thought, well, you know, I felt sorry for her because it's like mind numbing. You're standing there for like five hours. You know, it's kind of mind. Whereas I'm doing chess, which is quite a sort of you know, relaxing activity. It's quite mentally stimulating. Okay, it can be stressful as well. But you know, compared to a lot of jobs, I'm quite lucky in that respect. But it's just the money situation. The money is so bad at the moment for me, so I probably will have to get a job at some point next year. I can't do this again. I can't be in the same situation in a year's time. It just can't happen. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little recap of the game. I thought I'd show. So I don't know how else to show it really because I don't know how to do screen recorder on the tablet. So I thought I'd just show the variations on the phone. But I hope you enjoy the analysis. But as I said, I was just working all this stuff out with the engine, without the engine. I think it's much more engaging to actually look at these variations without the engine. But yeah, knight f3 and then rook f1 was incredibly strong for white.